Okay, now we are going to go over some problems from measuring segments assignment. First off, we are looking for the length of AB. So point A is at negative 2.5, point B is at 1. What are we going to do with those? We're going to subtract them and take the absolute value of them. So when you subtract them, what do you get? Negative 3.5, and when you take the absolute value of them, you get 3.5. Make sure all of your answers today are positive. Next up, we're looking at to find the length of BC. So B is at 1, C is at 3.5. What are we going to do with those? Again, subtract them and take the absolute value. So when you subtract, what do you get? Negative 2.5. And when you take the absolute value, what is your answer? 2.5. Next up, B is between points A and C. The length of AC is 15.8, and the length of AB is 9.9. What's the length of BC? Draw a figure. So what kind of figure are we drawing? A segment. And what are our endpoints? A and C. Where do we put B? We don't put it in the middle. It's just somewhere in between, somewhere on that segment. Because it said between, it did not say midpoint. Now we have AC is 15.8. And AB is 9.9. And we are looking for BC. So what should we write for BC since we don't know it? We should put an X there. What would our equation be? Yes, it would be 9.9 plus X equals 15.8. Now that we have that, what should we do? Yes, we need to subtract that 9.9 from both sides. And we have 5.9 for X, which we had put down as BC. So BC is 5.9. Okay, next up we are looking for the length of MP. So how would we set this one up? Mm-hmm. 17 plus 3y equals 5y plus 9. You could also say 5y plus 9 equals 17 plus 3y, but I did put my parts on the left-hand side and my whole on the right. And what would we do now? Subtract that 3y from both sides. So that gives us 17 equals 2y plus 9. What would we do now? Subtract 9 from both sides. And that leaves us with 8 equaling 2y. And what would we do now? Divide by 2 on both sides. So y equals 4. Now, is that my answer? No, it is not, because it asks us to find MP. So MP was 5y plus 9. So we have to substitute in for that y. And I know some of you still don't know what to substitute in. We solved for y. So we are putting that 4 in for that y. So 5 times 4 plus 9. And that equals 29. Next up, K is the midpoint of segment JL. JL equals 4x minus 2, and JK equals 7. We need to determine what x, KL, and JL are. Draw a figure. So what are we drawing? We are drawing a segment. And what are my endpoints? J and L. And where does K go? Yes. And why does it go in the middle on this one? Because we said midpoint. And what does that tell me? Those two sides are equal, so we can put our tick marks. And we know that JL is 4x minus 2. And JK is 7. So it didn't tell us anything about KL. So how do we figure out KL? We already said that these two segments were congruent because we had a midpoint. So KL is also 7. That's one of our answers. Now, it asked us for JL as well. What is this length? Yeah, 7 plus 7 is 14. We already have two of our answers. Now we just need to solve for x. So how do we set this up? 7 plus 7 equals 4x minus 2. You could have also said 14 equals 4x minus 2, because we already had what this whole thing equals. What are we going to do now? Yep, we're going to add 2 to both sides. So that's 16. We have 16 equals 4x. And then divide both sides by 4. So x equals 4. Our next question. Point E bisects segment DF. DE equals 2y, and length of EF is 8y minus 3. We need to figure out the lengths of DE, EF, and DF. Now, I know some of you are already thinking, oh, it already told me what's right there, miss. No, it didn't. You need a number. So on this one, we need to draw our segment. And what are our endpoints? D and F. And where do we put E? Okay, for those of you who are saying don't know, that tells me you didn't read a word or didn't understand what this word meant. What does that word bisects mean? It's the same as midpoint. So it's right in the middle. So since it's right in the middle, what do we know about DE and EF? They are congruent. So we know segment DE is 2y, and we know segment EF is 8y minus 3. And again, we already know that these segments are congruent, so how do we set this problem up? 2y equals 8y minus 3. What are we going to do now? Subtract that 8y from both sides. If you need your line down the middle, go ahead and put it. So we have negative 6y equals 3. Divide by negative 6. So what does y equal? It equals 1/2. And that is not my answer. That is just what y equals. And we need to plug it in for DE. So DE was 2y. So for those of you who, again, don't know what to plug in for y, we just solved for what y is. We are plugging in that 1/2 for y. So 2 times 1/2 is 1. So DE is 1. And since these two lengths were the same, that also means that EF is 1. And what is 1 plus 1? It's 2. Okay, and last one. Jamila has a piece of ribbon that is 48.5 centimeters long. For her scrapbook, she cuts it into 2 pieces so that one piece is 4 times as long as the other. What are the lengths of the pieces? So, what's our important information here? We have 48.5 long piece of ribbon, and she cuts it into 2 pieces. One piece is 4 times as long as the other. And what are we looking to find? The length of the pieces. So what should we draw? We should draw a ribbon. And what do we know about that ribbon? It is 48.5 centimeters long. 48.5 centimeters long. And we know that it's getting cut into 2 pieces. Now, what does one piece is 4 times as long as the other mean? It means 4x. So, if one piece is 4 times as long as the other, what's the other one? Yeah, the other one is x. So then how are we going to set this problem up? Part plus part equals slope. So 4x plus x equals 5x. So we have 5x equals our whole, which is 48.5 centimeters. And then what are we going to do? We're going to divide both sides by 5. And what does x equal? Yeah, it equals 9.7 centimeters. So that's one of our pieces. And then we need 4x. So we can substitute 4 times 9.7. And that gets us 38.8. We could have also, to get this other piece, subtracted that 9.7, 9 7/10 centimeters from 48.5 and still gotten 38.8 centimeters. Again, make sure all of your answers today are positive.